So today's daf is daf Tzaddik in Sanhedrin as we learn for Chanukah basis for Shivya. We're about 4 or 5 lines in the closer to the bottom of the page than to the top, about 4 or 5 lines before the lines get wide. On beginning of the line, we know, of course, like Elio when at Hara Carmel, he brought a sacrifice, even though it wasn't in the base of Migdash. Sometimes Navi can go do something that's against what's written in the Torah. So he tells you like this. Rabbi Yochanan says that if a Navi tells you to go against the Torah, but he's a recognized Navi, you know that he's good. Shema lo, listen to him. Chutz mi'avodas kamen. Thus he tells you to avodas hara. Shafilu ma'amid l'chachama b'emtzar. Even if he makes the sun stand still in the middle of the day, Al tishmalo, and he tells you to do avodas zarah, you don't listen to him. Tanya Rabbi Yossi Aglil Yomer Higia Torah l'sof tater shel avodas kachavim. Hashem knew, he understood the mentality of the prophets of the avodas zarah, and he understood their methods. Lefichach not la Torah memshalabah. Therefore Hashem gave it, the Torah, meaning Hashem gave power to them. Shafilu ma'amid l'chacham b'emtzar ki, even if he makes the sun stand still, Al tishmalo, you shouldn't listen to him. In other words, Hashem gave them certain powers. And the ability to entice you, but he also warned you that these are their methods, and no matter what they do, don't listen to him if it's avodah zarah. If he tells you to do something that's not avodah zarah, you can listen to him. How could you say that Hashem gave powers to the avodah zarah, to the avodah zarah, to do supernatural things? Shekadosh Baruch Hu ma'amid chama lo'over ritzano. Hashem would make the sun stand still for those who would go against his will. How could he do that? How could he give such power? Ella Kagon Hanani ben Azur. We talked yesterday about Hanani ben Azur, who was originally a good Navi. He originally a truthful Navi. He did the Lubasof. At the end, Navi Sheker turned bad. In other words, even if sometimes he had powers when he was a good Navi, and then he uses his good powers, and then he tries to say, look, I've done this. Now I want you to worship Avodah Zarah. Don't listen to him. The Mishnah ended off by saying that we talked about the various sins, 7 or 8 cases where the punishment is chenek, which is suffocation, right? We said this suffocation. And what's the last one? The last one was the Zom Bas Kohen Ubala. Let's say a Bas Kohen, a daughter of a Kohen, commits adultery, meaning she's married or betrothed and she commits adultery. The punishment is sreifa. That's what the Torah says. He sreifa. She has to get burnt. Well, what about her adulterer? The adulterer, it depends. If she's fully married, he would get chenek. And so that's what he said. Obola, the husband, or the adulterer. And if she is only betrothed, he would get skila, which is what you get for adultery with a betrothed girl only at kedushin. So it says Zambas Kamba. Now let's say there were A and B were testified against this Bas Kohen and her adulterer, and then the C and D came along and turned A and B into be liars. What punishment did they get? So Zom Bas Kohen, Ubola, they get chenek, even though they were trying to get her to be burned up. They were going to give her sreifa, but the Zomen get the same thing as the adulterer. That's what means Zom Bas Kohen Ubola, and the Gemara is going to explain why. How do we know? The Tanya Rabbi Yossi Amar Matam Alon Vasisim Lo Kasha Zam Lasach. What does it mean? When it says that if Adam Zoman, Adam were liars, and they were found afterwards to be liars, and they were right. They were liars. These were conspiratorial witnesses. Now, they're not stam liars. They conspired to kill this person, to kill this woman and her supposed adulterer. And then they're found to be liars. You're supposed to do to them what they wanted to do. If they wanted to mechayiv somebody money, you make them pay. If they wanted to give malchus to somebody, give them malchus. If they wanted to kill somebody, you kill them. But how do you kill them? You kill them with sreifa, which is what they wanted to give to the Bas Kohen, to the girl, the adulteress, or do you kill them with chenek, which is what the husband, the adulterer gets, not the husband, the adulterer. So it says to the brother. All the conspiratorial witnesses, the liars, the conspiring witnesses in the Torah, in other words, they get the same punishment as the person that they were trying to accuse. Bas Kohen, he besreifa, but a Bas Kohen, only she gets burned. Vein bolab sreifa, but the adulterer doesn't get sreifa. He gets either chenek or skila, depending on whether she was fully married or divorced or betrothed. Zomen, so what do the zomen get? Do the Adam zomen who lied about this pair of adulterers, do they get sreifa like her, or do they get, let's say, chenek like the boel, like the adulterer? Any of day, I don't know. Imlo huksho, imlo huksham loksha. Are they compared to him or to her, the adulterer or to the adulteress? Kshu omer lasus la'achiv, to do to the brother la'achiv lo lachoso. Only, in other words, they compare it to the boel, to the adulterer, to the male, and they get the punishment that he would have gotten, either skila or chenek, and not sreifa like her. Mefarshim deal with this, and from Rashi's mashma that that's the case. When a sua bas kohen kamay rashis av larusa boel b'skila, fine. Okay, but what about this case? They talk about, Rashi says in the Mishnah, they only get misa shemchaim la boel, hainu chenek, right? Okay, that's what we learn over here. What happens if they cannot find the adulterer guilty at all? What happens if, let's say, that she committed adultery? This, let's call her a bas kohen who's married. She's fully married. And normally, if she commits adultery, she would get sreifa. The adulterer would get chenek. What happens if he's only 10 years old? His bia is a bia, and she committed adultery with this boy. Well, you can't punish him. He's not bar mitzvah. Okay, so the only punishment is sreifa for her. So what would the zomen get now? Would they get sreifa because they're not mechayiv anybody chenek or not? That's a question among the Mepharshim. Some say that this is what we say, that if it's her or him, do the zomen get the punishment that they wanted to mete out to the adulterer if they're punishing him? If he gets chenek, the boy gets chenek, the girl gets sreifa. Which one? The zomen get what the boy gets. Lasus la'achiv. What happens if they're not giving him anything? For example, let's say they saw that he committed adultery, that she committed adultery, but they couldn't identify him. They saw her commit adultery. Her husband was there, and she committed adultery over here with some guy. Right? We can't identify him, so they can't give him a punishment. Or he's 10 years old. So what would you say in a case like that? They have Mepharshim deal with that. So maybe in that case, the zomen would get sreifa, because the only punishment they're trying to mete out is really sreifa. They're not giving out chenek to anybody. That's a shayla among the Mepharshim. And that completes the 10th parak, and now we begin the final parak of chelek. As we said before, that in the Mishnayos, chelek is really the 10th parak, because here we talk about the irani dachas, which we mentioned before, that the people who give the punishment for the irani dachas people is hereg, and that was mentioned before. So maybe it's a continuation of there. But the way the order in the Gemara is here. Rashi says over here. Rashi says the first Rashi in this parak says Mikora Ayub Arba Misos. So first he finished talking about the misas, all the 4 misas, skil, sreifa, hereg, and chenek, and now we talk about the people who don't have a share in the next world. So the famous Mishnah says, Kol Yisrael yesh lem chelekim, everybody, every Jew is born, he gets a share in the elam haba. Shneimar, va'amech kum tzadikim, your nation is all righteous, l'olam yesharetz, they will always inherit my land forever, meaning my land, Eretz Yisrael, and the earth, Neitzer mata'ai, they're a branch of my plantings. Maaseyodai lisbaer. They are the work of my hands to glorify, and that I glorified in them. I take pride in them. So everybody starts off with a share in Olam, but it could be rescinded if a person is not righteous. The following people have no chelik ba. Torah. That's one of the ikarim. One of the, according to Rambam, that's Rambam's 13 ikarim. According to others, there's 3 ikarim. But if you say that there's no Tchias HaMesim in a Torah, it doesn't mean to say you don't believe in Tchias HaMesim. Many Goyim believed in Tchias HaMesim, right? The Christians also might believe in Tchias HaMesim, but they don't believe that the Tchias HaMesim is from the Torah. They believe it's from their God. So Omer and Tchias HaMesim in a Torah, that's a person, these are all like Kofrim Be'ikar, and they have no share in the next one. Vein Torah Menashemayim, or they say Torah is not from heaven, the Torah is man-made. Ba'apikoros, we'll talk about Apikoros. Could come from the word Epicurean. The word Epicurean is like Epicurus, or from the word Hefker, that they have abandoned, that they have abandoned everything, abandoned our religion. But the different Apikoros, we talk about a min, which is also sometimes interchanged with Apikoros. We'll see the word min used many times here, some sort of a sectarian or an apostate. Even if those who learn, they study the outside books. Some say these are the philosophy books, again, the Gemara will talk about that. Locha shalamaka, or a person who says some chance over a wound instead of, you're allowed to take refuah. But he quotes a pasuk, and he says, the end of in Bishalach, we have this pasuk, right, Michael? And he whispers this as a chant. That's also somebody who doesn't understand about why not, what's so wrong with that. We'll talk about that. The Gemara is going to explain all this. Bashal Omer, Hashem says, if you pronounce God's name the way it's written, you're not allowed to say Hashem's name. Now, after we gave these categories of people who don't have a share in the next world, and there are many people who fit into those categories, specifically the Mishnah talks about 3 kings and 4 commoners that don't have a share. Who are they? These, of course, were wicked kings. Rabbi Yehuda says he disagrees with the Chacham. He says Menashe does get a share in the next world because he did tshuva. He prayed to Hashem. Hashem heard his plea. By Shivei B'Shalayim, and return him to Jerusalem and Malchusa, to his kingdom. Amr Lo, so the rabbis answered Rabbi Yehuda, they returned him to his kingdom, but he didn't get a share in the Abba. Apparently, he didn't do proper tshuva, or his tshuva wasn't enough to get his share back, the share that he had originally, which was lost. Arba Yotos, who were the 4 commoners who had no share? Bilam, of course, we know the Bil Navi, Doeg, and Achitofel, Begechasi, who was the assistant of the helper of Elisha. These 4 people from Tanakh have no share in the next world. The Gemara explains, why do we say that they don't have a share in the next world? So it's Tana, who kafir Tchias HaMesim, if he denies Tchias HaMesim. Interesting how throughout the Gemara we have it so many places here before also. What is the order? We say and then Tchias HaMesim. What is the order? The Farshim all grapple with that. What is the order? Is Olam Haba the place where we go to when we die? And later on there'll be Tchias HaMesim. Some say there'll be Tchias HaMesim, and then people, after they reborn, after they're resurrected, they'll die again, right? And then there's another Olam Haba, or is it once they're resurrected, they're going to live forever? All these are questions. Unfortunately, nobody's come back to tell us what it's like yet in the next one. So nobody's come back to report exactly what happens. But we know there's Tchias HaMesim eventually, there's resurrection of the dead, and we know there's Olam Haba. But the order differs depending on, even in the davening, sometimes there's a difference. Olam Haba, Tchias HaMesim, Yemos HaMashiach. Yemos HaMashiach, we might be in Yemos HaMashiach already, right? Not clear. So a lot of these things are, and in the Gemara, you seem to see that's Tchias HaMesim, that it's because we talk about everybody has a share in the next world, except these people who, a person says, ain't Tchias HaMesim in a Torah. So the Gemara says, why? Why doesn't he have a share in the next world? Because since he's kofar Tchias HaMesim, therefore he will not have a share in Tchias HaMesim. So now we're going from we're migrating from Olam Haba. Now we're talking about Tchias HaMesim. We talk about Tchias HaMesim and we talk about Olam Haba. Kol Yisrael Yeshem Chalik Ba, except for these guys. And he says one is one of those. If they don't say Tchias HaMesim, well, if you deny Tchias HaMesim, you won't be part of Tchias HaMesim. Okay, what about Olam Haba? We're putting them together. Yeah, of course. No, we understand that. Yeah, we understand that you could bring a riot from there too. You're jumping ahead. In other words, you're saying, why is it the Gemara says Shkomi Baruch Hu, it's Mida Keneged Mida, right? Mida Keneged Mida. So the Ayin Tachazayin is really like not necessarily that could be Nezikin. And it's not, even if it was involuntary. You made it, by accident. You took somebody's eye out, so you have to pay for it. That's not you was intention. Here we're talking about we did something intentionally. You did something, God repays you in kind. Mida keneged mida. And that's what we mean over here. If you deny Tchias HaMesim, you're not going to have Tchias HaMesim. But we're saying we're jumping from Tchias HaMesim to Olam Haba. So apparently they go together. How do we know that God's midas are always mida keneged mida? Shenemar. By Yomer, Elisha said, remember, at the 4 Mitzorim were outside the gate there, and they were starving, and Elisha said, Shimud Vashem, listen to the word of God. Case Machar, at this time tomorrow, right now food is so expensive that you're starving, you can't afford it. Tomorrow a sauce b'shekel will be so cheap you could buy like a whole kilo for 1 shekel. The sasayim sa'orim b'shekel, and two measures of barley will be a shekel. B'shar shomer, at the gate of Shomer. Iksiv vayana sholish, the officer said, Asher Melech Nishal Yada, that the king relied on him. Esei answered Elisha vayomer, are you crazy? You think right now we're in a famine? It cost $1 million to buy a bread. You're telling me tomorrow, you'll buy a whole kilo for a shekel? Are you crazy? Even if God would make windows in the heavens, in other words, open up the heavens and it'll rain down, and there'll be so much water, and the famine will be gone. Can you say that in 24 hours the price will come down like that? Vayomer, and Elisha answered him, you'll see this from Misham L'Techol, because you don't believe in what I'm telling you. You don't believe in it. You'll see it, and you won't be able to eat from it. In other words, you will die. You're not going to. Like so it says, Vayilo Cain, and so it was that all of a sudden the price went down because of the abundance of food, and the whole famine disappeared in a moment. Vayilo Cain said, and everybody trampled them. Bishar, at the gate there, they were trampled because everybody was running for the food and everything. It was so abundant. And they died. So what do you see over here? Because they didn't believe in it, they weren't entitled to it. You didn't believe in something, you're not entitled to enjoy the benefits thereof. Dilma, kill us, Russia, Elisha Garmela. Well, who says it was because of that? How do you know it was Mida Keneged Mida? Maybe because Elisha cursed them. Elisha said, okay, you're going to see it. The food's going to be plentiful, and you're not going to enjoy it at all. So maybe it's because of Elisha's curse, not because of Mida Keneged. If a chacham curses you, even if it's for no reason, it's for no good reason, he made a mistake, but it comes anyway. Just saying they were trampled and they died. My b'sha'ar. Why does it say at the gate? Al iske shar. Because at the gate they said, they were standing at the gate, and they said they said at the gate the price of the wheat and the flour and the barley will be so cheap, and b'shar shomer, at the gate there. The Marsha says that the gate over here means the shar, like the shar yitzig, and we talk about the price. The mechir, the price, my b'shar, because they were saying that the price can't go down from 1,000,000 shekels a pound to 1 shekel a pound overnight, and because of that, that's what it means by saying b'shar. B'shar to tell me because of that, to show us that mida keneged mida. Torah takes out the Amar. How do you know that in the Torah there's Tchias HaMesim? Again, not to believe if a Hindu believes in Tchias HaMesim. It's not because of the Torah. That's not believing. We have to believe in Tchias HaMesim because from the Torah. Shenemar u'nasat mimenu es trumas Hashem l'Aaron Kohen. You'll give the truma to Aaron Kohen. Aaron lo'olam kaim. Is Aaron going to live forever? Lo nichnas Eretz Yisrael. We're not even talking about. She says that doesn't mean that it's to live forever. Aaron never even made it into Eretz Yisrael, right? He died. They buried him in Hor HaHar. He never came into Eretz Yisrael like Moshe. So he never came into Eretz Yisrael. There's no truma outside of Eretz Yisrael. So he's going to live eventually. He's going to be resurrected. From here, it says he's going to give Aaron truma. Aaron's not here right now. Shows you that he's going to come back. Rabbi Shmuel Tana, Aaron Karen doesn't. That's not the shot in to teach me that he's going to be resurrected, but rather Aaron means Ka'aron. You have to give it to Kohanim who are observant of the laws. Ma Aaron Chaver, just like Aaron is a Talmud Chacham and he eats of the Tahara, and he knows how to keep the laws of Kahuna and Truma. How do you know you shouldn't give Truma to an Amoritz? Why? Because he'll be Matamiyat, and he'll be over on eating Truma state of Tumah, which is Chayv Misa Shneimar by Yomer La'am. And he told the nation, Yoshvi Yishalayim, to those, the dwellers of Yishalayim, Lo says, Manas HaKohanim Elviim, give the portion of the Kohanim Elviim, L'man Yechesku b'Torah Hashem, so they will adhere to the Torah of Hashem. Kol HaMachzik b'Torah Hashem, if they adhere to the Torah, Yesh Lo Manas, he's entitled to a share. She'ein Machzik b'Torah Hashem, if he doesn't adhere, Ein Lo Manas, he's not entitled to a portion. Amar Vacha. So there was several things learned out from there, but the first thing that we explained was either was Rabbi Yochanan or not Rabbi Yochanan, but it was said by an Amora at least that Tchias HaMesim Torah because of Aaron, because you're going to give it to Aaron. Amar Bacha Bar Ad Amar Rav Yehuda. If you give a Kohen who's an Amoritz Truma, and therefore he might be Metameyed and be over Ki'ilu Nosen Lefnei, as if you put it in front of a lion. Ma'ari Suffolk Doris for Ochel Suffolk Andos. And just like a lion, compares it to a lion, just like a lion, if you give him an animal there, a small animal, he may trample it and eat it, or he may not. He might just put it away. In other words, you're putting yourself in a bad situation because you're not sure if he's going to eat it betara or betuma. And if he eats a betuma, you caused that to happen. You should have given it to a kohen who knows the laws. You cause him death. If he eats truma in a state of tuma, you're going to cause him death. You're also causing him the sin of guilt. What does it mean by that? Rashi says, Avona Ashma, Avonos Harbe, Matna love. You're burdening him with many sins because he doesn't know how to treat it. Shnemar, Visioso Avan Ashma, Ba'ochim Kachem, when they eat their kochem and they eat it in the state of tumah, you're going to cause them one sin after the next. Time Rav Samayom, Torah. So now we have another Tana which says, how do we know that Chesem Esm Torah? Shnemar, it says, V'gam hakimosi esbrisi itom laseis lohem es eretz Canaan. Right, this is right with Moshe, right? Moshe and Paro in the story of Pesach. V'gam hakimosi esbrisi itom laseis lohem es. I'm going to give them eretz Canaan. Lachem doesn't say I'm giving it to you who are here today. El lohem to Avos, right? Esbrisi. What was the bris with? Bris was with Avosenu, with the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So he's telling Moshe, I'm giving them Eretz, I'm giving Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Well, they're not here anymore, right? Lachem lo, it doesn't say to you, the Jews who are here now, Moshe and his assembly. El lahem, mikan tchis Torah.
He didn't get it either.
Yeah. Okay, but he will be Mekayim it, right? He will be Mekayim it. But he's not telling you, not even saying it to you now. I'm telling it to them, to Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, who weren't here. That means that they're going to be revived. Shalom minin esra mingum. So these sectarians, minin could be apikorsim, apostates, whatever you want to call them. They didn't believe in the Torah. How do you know that Hashem will revive the dead? And he answered, I'll give you a proof from all areas of the Tanakh. Torah and Nevi'im Ksuvim, but they didn't accept whatever he said. These minim would not accept it. In other words, when you're arguing with them, you can have a disputation like the Ramban had, right, with the churchman. They're not going to accept it anyway, but they didn't accept it. What are the proofs? You will die. You're going to die and be buried. You're going to sleep with your fathers. Come and you'll get up. Come and you'll get up. So there's your proof. You're going to die and then you're going to live. The end of the pasuk says, this nation will arise. Hashem is foretelling him that the Jews are going to do bad after he dies. And they will stray. So that's what they said. That doesn't prove anything. It's a question, where do you put the comma there, right? Rashi says here, interesting, Rashi says, Rashi says on the right side. Rashi's on the right side. In this parak, you got to see Rashi on the right or the left. There's no tosus here, right? So Rashi says on the right side, a couple of 4 or 5 lines from the bottom of the page. You don't know where the comma goes. You see, so you don't know the comma. But maybe it's going on the comma which is really the way we read it. You're going to die. And then the comma or semicolon, and then the comma mazevzana, your nation is going to get up and stray away. Then Rashi says here, this is one of the psukim she'ein lemachra. You can't decide. It's not clear how to read it. So the apikorsim or the minim answered, why are you reading it? Become, you're going to die and you're going to revive. No, comma, the comma mazevzana, and they will get up and stray. So that was the proof that he brought from Torah, and they refuted that. What's the proof from Nevi'im? The Chsivit says, your dead will be revived. My body will rise up. Hekitzu, it will awaken. Varananu shachve'afar, and they will sing. The people who sleep in the dirt, meaning the dead people, will arise and wake up and sing. Kital oros talecha, because your dew is like the dew of lights. The eris reform tapil, and some might say that reform refers to the dead. Then it says that the dead that are in the earth, the earth will spit them out, so to speak. It'll split them out. Rashi says, "And nevlosi yikomun afilu nefolim yichyu." Even the stillborns, the babies who couldn't survive, will also survive la'asad lavo. So he has this proof there. He says, the dead will live, they'll be revived, they'll wake up, etc. How do you know it's la'asad lavo, that there's going to be a general revival of the dead for all the Jewish people? Maybe it's specifically, this was Yeshaya speaking, and maybe Yeshaya is prophesying about Yecheskel, who revived a certain number of dead people, but we're not talking about the general revival of the dead that's going to take place in the future. So that's how they answered him. So they didn't accept that as a proof either. Minak Suvim, again, he brought them, Rav Meir brought up a proof from the Ksuvim. The Ksuvim says, V'chichech ki ein atov, right? This is Shir Hashirim. And your palate, the words of your mouth, will be like good wine. Holech l'dodi l'meisharim, will go down sweetly to my beloved. Dovev sifsei yeshenim, will make the lips of those who sleep move. So if their lips are moving again, that means that they're being revived again. So they answered him. They made him answer. Maybe his lips will simply move out. Even these minim knew what Rabbi Yochanan had said. The famous line. If somebody's already dead, but they quote his teachings in this world, like we quote the Rambam, Chafetz Chaim, whatever we're quoting from people of yesteryear, his lips are moving in the kever. So they himself said, in other words, he's not really living, his lips are moving in the kever. He's not going to really be, but that's how they answered him. He's not really going to be revived. It's simply his lips are moving because they're quoting him in this world. That says moving, they will move, or the lips will murmur, the lips of those who sleep will be moved again. So all those proofs from Torah Nevi'im Ksuvim, the Minim refuted. Ad Shomer until he said this pasuk Mikrazeh, Asher Nishba Hashem Lavoseichem. This is similar to what we said before. It's not the pasuk he told the Moshe, but it says Asher Nishba Hashem Lavoseichem Laseis Lahem, that I promise your forefathers to give to them, Lachem Lerim, and not to you who are now, El Lahem, to them. That's another proof for Tchias Meis Torah. So we have several proofs already. The Eish Omer, says some saying this pasuk Omer Lahem. This is also in Dvarim, right? You who are cleaving to Hashem, you are all alive today. What do you mean you're all alive today? Everybody, of course, you're speaking to the people who are there. Of course, they're alive. And he has it in the parentheses. The Mashal takes it up. Pshita, the Chaim Kulchem Yom. Elafilu biyom shekulam kulam mesim. Even eventually, when everybody will be dead, Atam Chaim, you will live because you'll be revived. Ma yom kulchem kayomim avlum bakel. Just like today, you're alive. So you'll be alive next world. In other words, it's the same idea, but it's a slightly different question and answer. Chaim kulchem hayom, what does that mean? Just like you're alive today, you'll be alive eventually. Shalu Romayim, the Romans asked Yoshua ben Chananya. They asked him two questions together. How do you know that God will revive the dead? And how do you know that he knows what's going to take place in the future? Amalu, Tarvayu from the Mikrazeh, we're both from the pasuk we quoted before, Zesh Nemar, V'yom Hashem al Moshe, Hincha Shochev Emavosecha, V'kom ha'amazeh v'zona. You will die, and the nation will rise up and lead astray. So they asked this question of Yeshua ben Chananya. So Yeshua ben Chananya said, you see both of them here, because it says, Hincha Shochev Emavosecha V'kom. And he's also telling him the future. The nation is going to eventually go astray. So you see that Hashem knows the future. Plus there's going to be revival of the dead because you are going to live. So they answered him, the same answer we gave before. Maybe the kam is after Avosecha and it's all Hashem is doing is telling that after you die, the nation will go astray. Okay, at least I gave you one. You gave me two questions. How do I know that the dead will revive? And how do I know that Hashem knows the future? You see that Hashem foretold the future. He told to Moshe. So at least half of your questions, you asked me two questions, I gave you the answer. It's like many times if you ask the secretary for three things, you get the last one. You don't get the first two. You ask her for two things, you get the second one. You can't keep all three. Right? So at least you see that Hashem knows what's going to happen. How do we know that Hashem is Machayim Mesim, that he makes the dead revive? He knows what's going to be. Become the same answer, but of course it's refutable because you could say put the comma after Avasech instead of a comma. Tanya Rabbi Yosi. The Dovers as the Afti Sefer Minim. In this matter, I refuted the Sefer of the Minim. Some say that the Minim over here would change the words in the Torah. Notice the Sefer Torah of the Minim, what they did is instead of Lahem, which we said Lahem proves, talking about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, that they're going to be revived, he puts it Lachem. In other words, it says, I promised them Lahem, right? And he says, and they said, no, it's just Lachem. There's no Tchias HaMesim according to the Minim. So I refuted them. Why? They would say in Tchias HaMesim in the Torah, again, you don't have to just believe in Tchias HaMesim. You have to believe Tchias HaMesim in the Torah. Amarti Lahem, Ziyaftim Taraschem, you forged, you forged, you falsified the Torah by changing the words. But you didn't gain anything by that. It was to no avail. Why? You say there's no Tchias HaMesim in the Torah. Look at the pasuk that says you could change the word lahem to lachem, but look at the other pasuk where it says when it comes to avodah zarah, it says hikaris tikaris hanefesh. That nefesh, that soul will be cut off. What's the double lush? Avon haba, it will carry its sin. Hikaris tikaris bal mazeh, cut off in this world. Avon haba lamus. If he says you'll be cut in this world, what's carrying the sin? What does that mean? Lamus lav lo haba, meaning that there's no haba. Again, we're comparing Tchias HaMesim and Olam Haba as if to say they go together. If you're not Zocher to Tchias HaMesim, you're not Zocher to Olam Haba. So he says here, what do you have to do with this lashon? Hikaris to Karis is one. Okay, you're going to be cut off in this world, and you'll carry your sin. You'll bear your sin in the next world. What else would it be referring to? So you see, there is Olam Haba. Amalei Papa Labayev Aleimulo Leimu Tavai Hikaris to Karis. Why do you have to say Hikaris to Karis is Olam Hazeh? And Avon Haba is Olam Haba. So Papa said to Abai, why didn't he tell him both Hikaris Tikaris? Right? Why don't you say Hikaris is in this world, Tikaris Olam Haba? What do you need Avon Haba for? So Inu Have Amr, because they asked that, they would have answered the Bikorsim would have answered, the Minim would have answered Dibber Lashon B'nei Adam. Sometimes Hashem speaks that way, a double lashon, like Ish or Hikaris Tikaris, a double lashon, which the translators always say is you will surely be cut off because they have no other way to explain it. So he says that Hashem speaks that way. You're going to be definitely cut off. It's actually machlokes. But Rav Kiva Taka says that Hikaris is olam hazeh, Tikaris is olam haba. What does he do with avon haba? We'll see. Amar Rabbi Shmuel, look for nemer as Hashem hu megadef. Now, Rabbi Shmuel says that megadef is also avodah zarah. So it already says as Hashem hu megadef in nichrasan he'll be cut off. He said to Rabbi Kiva, you say Hikaris is this world, Tikaris is the next world. What do you do with as Hashem hu megadef in nichrasa? There's three worlds. What are you going to explain that? The three worlds. Ella b'nichrasu b'olam hazeh, Hikaris olam haba. Right, v'nichrasu olam hazeh, Hikaris olam haba. Hikaris tibel kashim b'nei adam. In other words, the extra double lashon is just like even Rabbi Shmuel learned that way, the same way that the Minim would have answered. Just as this double lashon over there, because he says there's three Hikarises. Rabbi Kiva though explains Rashi holds that as Hashem megadef, blasphemy is not the same as avodah zarah. Blasphemy Hashem is one halacha. That's a separate halacha of kares. Hikaris to kares is talking about avodah zarah. So there's only two. There's only hikaris to kares. Hashem megadef is irrelevant here because that's blasphemy is a different sin. But Bein Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva avon above my boy. Whether you learn like Rabbi Shmuel says there's three psukim. So a dibber tarka hikaris to kares, dibber lashing panei adam. And Hashem megadef is nirchasa. So you got two karises, one from Almazeh, one above. According to Rabbi Kiva, says hikaris to kares, one Almazeh, one above. And as Hashem megadef is a different mitzvah entirely. What do they do with avon haba my delay? Look at the Tanya yochel afilu asa tshuva. I might think even if he did tshuva, that will regain him his share in olam haba. Tamiloma avon haba lo amarti el bezman shavon haba. Right? Meaning, if he did tshuva, you would think even if he did tshuva, he's going to be cut off. He says no. If he originally did not believe in olam haba or didn't believe in or he did avodah zarah, but he repented. I mean, again, if there's Edom and Asra, he would be killed by the Bezin. But if he did tshuva before he died, he will get a share in the next world. I only said that he's going to be cut off in this world and the next world if he maintains that sin. He maintains his attitude. But if he does tshuva, not. Shala, Cleopatra Malkasa, the famous Queen Cleopatra, asked Rav Meir. He went to Rome. Amra, Yadana, I know that people. I know that those who are dead will be revived. I know that. Why? The Sif, she quoted the pasuk. It says, "Vayitzitzu meir They will blossom out of the city, like grass. I know that the dead will be revived. I asked the technical question. When they are revived, are they naked like a newborn babe, or do they get up in their clothes? Amar lo, he told the kavachomer, I'll give you kavachomer mechita from a simple wheat, a grain of wheat. Just like when you bury, when you plant a wheat seed, you bury it naked, right? That means you put it in the ground naked. But when it comes out, when it grows, it's got several garments on top, meaning it's got several layers on top. Tzaddikim were buried clothed in their shrouds. Certainly are going to be revived wearing clothes. The Caesar said to Gamaliel, you say that those who are dead will live. How could they live? All they are dust. Can dust live? Amrle Barse. So the daughter, the Caesar's daughter, said to Gamaliel, Shafke, leave him. Let me answer. Right? Chutzpah, right? She answered, the father asked a question, Gamaliel, she says, leave him, I'll answer him. Right? I'll answer him. I'll answer him. There are two potters, let's say, in our city. One makes stuff out of water. One makes it out of clay. What would you say is greater? A person makes it out of water or makes it out of clay? So he told us that if you can make it out of water, that's a tremendous thing, right? So if you can make it out of water, certainly can make it out of clay. What he means is this: if Hashem can make a person out of semen, out of some a liquid, certainly he can make him out of clay, out of dirt, right? Out of that clay. The Rabbi Shmuel said that if she gave him a different kavachomer to look at a glassware. How do you make glassware? You have what do they call glass blowers, right? Glass blowers. So with the ruach, right? With the breath of a basar v'dam, he blows it, and yet nishbru, if it breaks, you can melt it down again, and you could do it again. So takana. Basar v'dam. So creating a person, Shabaruch Shalosh Baruch was created with a Hashem's spirit. Hashem blew into him as nefesh, but ruach and nefesh. Alachs kam certainly Hashem could revive if glassware, which was created by man, can be broken and can be revived and can be made again. So a person who was created with Hashem's ruach certainly can be revived. You say that the people who are dead will be revived. Again, it's only dirt. How can a man goes back to dirt? Elafar tashuv. Afar mikachai can dirt be alive? I'll give you an example. A king told his servants, build for me a big palace, where there's no water and no dirt. Also, they went and built it. They made an effort. Eventually fell down. Now I want you to build it where there is Afar Mayim. We're not able to. He got angry. You built it in a place where there is no dirt and water. So over here, where Hashem is creating somebody out of Afar and out of semen, let's say, can't rebuild it. If you don't believe that Hashem could create out of that, say Lebika, go out to the valley, Ray Achbar. Look at it. Weird sense that Achbar is a mouse. Rashi seems to say it's like a squirrel. There were until the microscope was created. There was a belief, even among scientists, that many things just were created spontaneously without a male and a female. So he says, what? Pardon? Spontaneous generation, right? So today it's half of flesh and half dirt, Lamachar Hishritz, the next day it sprouts up and nasa kula basar. Maybe think it takes a long time. Go up to the mountain. There's only one chilazon. And all the chilazonos come out like those little snails in our neighborhood, right? So again, you could see that Hashem can create things spontaneously. So it definitely can happen. It doesn't have to happen via the natural way of male and female. All right, we'll pick them here tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem, at the first of the wide lines, continuing on with this discussion.